And good morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. This is Odie. It's Friday.
Well, see, we've been saying all week it was coming, and here it is. We made it. End of the week. Man.
Tickled to be here. I hope everyone else in. Yeah. Hot today as we look for a high to be somewhere around 97 to 99. Now, the bad news we have to tell you that 113 is what we're projecting on the heat index side. We should have severe weather moving in after 2 o'clock, Odie. It's just a level 1. But as we saw just a few weeks ago, when was that last storm we had?
Last weekend.
That was a level 1 also.
Yeah, that snuck in there Sunday evening and was Sunday afternoon, and it got pretty bad. A lot of oil on the ground from all the cars traveling. And once a little bit of rain hits it, it becomes slick. Mm-hmm. Be very careful. We had a lot of wreck on the interstate last week, so don't be caught up in that. Drive slow. You remember in school where a posted speed limit is for a nice, clear, regular day.
Okay.
Not for rain, not for cloud, not for fog. So just be cautious as we drive up and down the roads when we have these storms come in.
Be careful. As we go to one of our headlines, Newton, yet again, we had someone shot last night. As police would arrive, and we'll show you the map here, this would be on Clark Avenue. Police would end up saying, well, this is being reported now as an accidental shooting. We don't know the details other than the fact that that's what we're getting out of this. The person was taken for medical care. Newton County Sheriff's Department assisted the city with this, Newton PD. So that's what we know at this point. More details hopefully will come out this morning as Jody is trying to find his coffee this morning. We'll bug him here in just a little bit. I love waking him up.
Well, we know how it is. We've got to have coffee. Just something to pep us up, get us going.
Right.
Start the day. Man.
And what else did we have is this year, I don't think, last year we had a lot more robberies at the Neshoba County Fair with vehicles. This year, we've got an arrest as we spoke to Sheriff Eric Clark yesterday. Here's the scene of what we've got. At least 3 people in jail this morning. We ain't named his nice little facility up there.
No, we'll have to. It's a multi-county, so it's we got to come up with something good for him.
Now, this started as a horse stall fire, and one thing led to another, and lo and behold, they had something to do with some burglaries that went on with some cabins. And they are urging you, if you own a cabin at the Neshoba County Fairgrounds, to check it to make sure that nothing else has been taken or stolen from your place as this investigation continues. But an arrest has been made. And I want to say they touched 1 or 2 things to do with a car also. Maybe taking something what there's inside it. Shame.
That's that's a place where people don't go but once a year. So hopefully they can get somebody to come check that out and make sure that their stuff's still safe, that they can look around and not wait till next year.
Yeah, and instead of waking this guy up this morning, he's in the studio, so I'm going to ask him this while we're live on this one to make sure I understand that. Or Calhoun is with Ward. How you doing? Let's. There's Ward. This guy here that was arrested. Remind me. Let me put his picture up here on the screen. Is this the guy that the Highway 11 that walked in with a ball cap on, robbed that store maybe twice?
I believe I don't remember exact details, but what you're talking about
like
is
a
correct.
Little Toyota car with a disabled.
Yep. I'm pretty sure this is him. He had crimes in several different counties.
Yeah, and it was several stores that went down with this guy, and then it kind of went cold. We didn't hear anything about it. Now it's been a little over a year, and he's off to jail.
Well, he was arrested a while back. It was a case that we worked and ended up taking it federally to the project Safe Neighborhoods. I think that's
what it says.
Yeah, so he's one of the ones that we worked with other agencies and ended up making an arrest and went federally with him because it met the criteria that they have.
As
to
it
do
says
that.
here, from April to May, it was about 4 different robberies from here to Clinton, also Forest. Scott County got involved in that. There's a bunch of them there. So good deal that we got somebody off the street there.
And yeah.
Hey, we need to circle back around to something real quick.
Okay, circle back.
Let's circle back around to starting with Odie on the interstate and talking about wrecks.
Uh-huh.
You know something that I think most people have forgotten?
What's that?
Is when it's raining, turn your cruise control off.
Oh, yes, that is a good
That
point.
gets more people. I wish there was a study, and maybe there is. I haven't gone looking to determine if a person's cruise control was on when they lost control of their vehicle. That's a good question that I know it's not asking the
I bet you
correct
those
When they
black
hide the
boxes that are in cars now would tell you that.
because that is something that creates problems. So you shouldn't be using your cruise control when it's raining.
Yeah, so y'all keep that. But that is,
Tip
that
of
is
the
a
day.
good
Tip
point.
of the day.
Tip of the day.
And that
The
other
charge.
tip that we want to always throw out: 4 lanes, always stay in the right lane. If somebody is gonna get on the, you know this as well as we do, is somebody that jumps on a highway going the wrong way.
Yep.
That left lane.
And we hear that complaint a great deal. We have a law now in Mississippi, and it is enforced some, but, the right-hand lane is for travel. The left-hand lane is the passing lane. It is named that for a reason. So you're either passing, or if you're on a divided highway and you're fixing to make a left-hand turn, then certainly you want to get in that
Right.
lane. Don't just cross over; that would be bad. But get in the lane that you're supposed to be in. Stay in that lane. It makes traffic flow so much better.
But that really makes sense when y'all look at this. Of if you're traveling somewhere, if you ride in that left lane, you come over a hill, there'd be nowhere to go. And I've seen it on highways, and I get calls all the time, texts. There's somebody going down I-20 the wrong direction, and sometimes it's just people get confused as to where they are, and bad things can happen from
Exactly.
that.
Or they're intoxicated or impaired in some fashion.
Yeah, that intoxication's usually a big one there.
That'll
Shame
get
on
you.
them. We had a major wreck yesterday over in Demopolis, Alabama. I don't know if you've even seen this, and let me pull this up and pull this. This involved 2 log trucks. As we had this sent in yesterday, here's a sneak view at that. Police on the scene. Never anything good when you come up on these involving log trucks. Look at that. I don't believe any major injuries. We hadn't gotten a full report on that, but keep them in mind there. And one of the best things I think that came out of yesterday, and let me find the story on this. We found somebody who was safe. We had an elderly gentleman come up missing yesterday, 84 years old, and he was found near Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
That's how quick. Well, you know this firsthand, Odie.
It doesn't take long, and I know this because of my mama.
She did the same thing, didn't she?
She did the same thing. Of course, they didn't take that left turn at Albuquerque, and her Thelma and Louise riding partner, here they go, take off, and next thing I didn't know anything. I'm sitting here in Honduras, and Greg's freaking out. Odie goes out of town. I've lost his mama.
Did you go down and pick up some product? Is that what you did?
Yeah, you know how that is. And so they've called in Alabama, Mississippi. They got everybody in the world looking, and Sergeant Chris Cokel, good buddy of mine, hotty toddy there, brother. He calls and says, "Look, I need a ping." And he looks up and he goes, "Well, we know where her phone's at, and she's in Green something, Alabama, way down there."
Just to get it.
Yeah, she's making her way back. They just made one heck of a loop, but it doesn't take long,
This all started out in maybe Causeyville and ended up in Mobile. Watch your parents. Things like this can happen. The older we get, sometimes boo-boos happen there. So a few other things. We got some more updates going throughout the morning. Up next, we're going to have Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun. Tuesday's the big day. It's race day or election day. Race day.
Well, it is race day.
It's your turn to go vote on Tuesday. We're going to talk to Ward here in just a second. He's got several things he wants to talk about. Y'all stay close with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Billy Solly, and for almost 3 decades I have served as your Sheriff of Lauderdale County. I have chosen to retire, and it's time for you, the voters, to select my successor. On August 8th, I'm asking you to please go to the polls and vote for Ward Calhoun as your next sheriff.
Thank you for your endorsement, Sheriff Solly, and I'm asking for your vote humbly to serve as your next sheriff. Please vote Ward Calhoun on Tuesday, August 8th in Republican primaries.
Have you been wanting your own building, your own shed? Speak to our friends at Best Sadia Building, 601-728-1954. Now, they can custom build you a home from a barn dominium. Maybe it's a shed that you're needing or a simple place to park your car, a garage, a camp house. Maybe you need a place to park your tractor, your motorcycle, or even that lawnmower. They can custom design whatever it is you need. Quality work, trustworthy, Best Sadia Buildings. Speak with Drew, 601-728-1954. Garrett Outfitters on 8th Street is getting you ready for summertime. A large selection of cool hobo shirts. Maybe it's short sleeves. Maybe you need a pair of shorts. If you're going to be cutting grass or maybe riding a tractor this summer, you're going to need a straw hat to keep cool. And as you head to that favorite fishing hole, don't forget you'll need a pocket knife along with a great rod and reel. And if you earn your living in the woods, don't forget to check out their big selection of snake boots, Carhartt pants, and shirts for any occasion. It's Garrett Outfitters, 3505 8th Street, Meridian. Summertime has arrived, and Freeman Tractor on Highway 494 has the exact lawnmower for your need. If you've got a big yard with acres and acres to mow, they have a mower for that. No matter the size yard you have, Freeman Tractor has the lawnmower that fits you and your budget. From 48-inch all the way up to 60, or the X-Mark lawnmower. Plenty of these to choose from. Also, they carry a complete line of LS tractors. Come by for a test drive today. Financing available. Drop in today to Freeman Tractor, Highway 494, see coleslaw or buttermilk. Welcome back. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. This is
Here
OD.
we are.
We're wearing red today because of the Friday. Welcome.
Yeah,
those
remember,
serving.
everyone deployed. We want everybody home.
Hey, wait, before we go to Ward, I need to show the latest fashion in Meridian. I've hooked up with a Rock House Trading Post. And folks, if you're going for a stroll, maybe you want to go feed the ducks at Highland Park. Maybe you wanted to go eat on Highway 19, or maybe you wanted to go to North Hills. Hang on.
Can Barry use this when he's out feeding his herd?
Check out this. This is the latest fashion in Meridian, the nicely designed bulletproof vest. If you'd like to have one, they got them for you. We're going to get Scotty Ray Report. We're going to get some Rock House on this. And never know where you'll be where you might need one of those.
Ain't that the truth? Now we can go to the Denzel Carousel.
Yes, you can. Stroll across there, feed the little ducks.
Yeah.
Feel stylish.
Barry doesn't need one. He has one. It won't take him long to feed his herd. A can for each one of them and 2 cans.
I think you can get them in his and hers. Ward, how in the world are you this morning?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. I don't have any ducks, nor do I want any. I've had a couple people on the campaign trail offer me to give kids. I've had offers to take the kids. Have had offers to take dogs and cats, and none of which I have.
And as well, you see a different portion of the county when you're knocking on doors. There's one thing you see from the car patrolling, but once you knock on doors, you see all types of things, I'm sure.
You do, and one of the things I have been on the look for, and I have found too, but nobody wanted to part with them, is the old glider sofa metal.
Oh, yeah.
I found a really nice one on a side porch, but lady
wouldn't part with it.
Well, she said maybe one day. I said, call me up if you ever want.
Was it that big in the 60s or was it the 70s?
Well, actually, really, you get on back in the 40s and 50s. And people had them then too. But they were more popular back then.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
I've got one, but I want another one.
So y'all help Ward out there if you've got one there.
Leave one in good shape. You
no
can find
rust.
them. Well, you're going to find them with rust. You got to get them sandblasted and redone. But, some of them are pretty been out in the weather and they're pretty worn through. So
you got somebody big like me sit on that, it'd be over.
You might need something like that to fill in your time. You get through campaigning, you're going to have all this extra time on your hands.
Somehow in my life, that just never seems to quite happen. I've always got something going on.
There's a lot of folks going, whoo, Tuesday, I can sit down and rest just a little bit from this.
Not going to be any rest because whoever wins this primary has got an opponent in November. So
True.
There's work to continue, and that'll be true for many of the races. Not all of them, but for many of them.
And there is a possibility in some of these races that we will have probably some runoffs. And that, what is it, 2 weeks later that we have that?
3, I believe it's
3 weeks?
I think it's 3. Yeah.
So be prepared for that. So there'll be some more knocking on some doors. And y'all just be mindful. Candidates mean no harm. They're just trying to get to you, the public, so that they can meet you head on.
And talking about that, I want to touch on this because it's come up on
social media.
Social media, you could say. Anybody, we do not affiliate with a party. So it doesn't matter who, what, where, when, and why. When you go to the polls Tuesday, you can vote either a Republican or a Democrat, whichever one you choose. If there is a runoff, if you voted Republican, only those people who voted Republican can go vote for the runoff. If you voted Democrat, you cannot go vote in a Republican runoff. So there's no
Choose wisely.
choosing back and forth. So if you want to vote Republican, go Tuesday, go to the Republican table, and sign in and go from there. But yeah, be careful on that when you go to vote. You can't go back and switch parties like that.
And Odie's exactly right, and I have found this in talking with people, and it's because you look at it and you think, well, this is fairly simple, but again, we don't, it's not that we vote every year.
Yeah.
And so people tend to forget, but in Mississippi, we have primary elections first, and that's so that a person who's running for a party, position with the party, is that nominee for that party in the general election. For example, you'll have in the general election in November 7th, you will have a candidate that could be an independent. They're not going to be listed on any ballot this coming Tuesday because they've chosen to run.
And Clark County will have that, I believe. They've got an independent running.
So that person's not going to be there. So people could become confused. But when you go in, we go in the door as a registered voter. We're not registered as a Republican, registered as a Democrat, registered as an independent. We are simply registered voters. And so when you walk in, you then have to make a decision. Do I go to the Democratic table? Do I go to the Republican table? And Odie put it exactly right. Once you make that choice,
you're stuck with it.
You're stuck with it through a runoff. But now come the general election, it's not going to matter. Everybody just goes in and just
votes.
You get a ballot at that point in time. I think people need to remember when they go Tuesday that they need a government-issued form of a photo ID.
I have left my wallet before and had to go back home.
Right, and then you don't have to have your voter registration card. And I was looking at mine. Mine is very old because it hasn't changed since I got it back in, I don't even remember now, like 2000.
Same voting precinct.
Exactly. So some people have said, well, I don't have my card. I can't go vote. I've had people tell me that. No, you can go. You need to find out where you should do this early. Don't try calling down there Tuesday morning. They're
going to be a little busy.
Donna Jill's office trying to figure out where you need to go.
Your name's in the book.
Right. It's there. You don't have to have the registration card, but it's helpful because when they're busy, if you have it and you give it to them, they're able to look exactly how the name appears in the book. And that's because you may go by Bob Smith, but in the book, you're William Dwayne Smith or whatever. So you want to make sure that you.
And she will mail you a new card if yours is old or you lost it, because I had that happen, and Donna Jill was real sweet and got me a new one there.
We're just so close at this point in time. I don't know that they would.
It'd be
it'd be difficult for them to do.
Very, but, as we all know, things get lost in the mail here, drastically.
So, but when you go vote, make sure you take a photo ID with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the greatest things we've ever done. I've been one of those ones through the years. I would just take it. I'd pull it out and hand it to them. They go, oh, you don't have to have this. I go, I like to show it to you. It bothers me not. Voting to me is just.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege bought with the blood, sweat, tears, and money of our country all these years. And so I think that's important. I want to make sure that people who are voting are supposed to be the ones voting.
That's
and
right.
I have no problem showing my ID for that.
I don't either. It makes me feel good. I had a harder time cashing a check yesterday than I did going to vote. And I had.
Well, you look suspicious, Odie.
I reckon so. And a teacher I've known my entire life works at the voting precinct.
She wouldn't stand up for you.
And when I come in, she says, I know who you are, but I still need to see your ID. And I love it.
Yeah, that's right. Make sure the ID.
Oh, I've got it, and here it is. I don't have a problem. Now, I have a problem signing my name because I can't sign Odie because my name's not Odie.
That's right. On the way, we got more coming up with Ward Calhoun as we get ready for this election. A lot of things we didn't get to talk with him about last time he was here, so we got a little bit more time to do that this morning. Y'all stay with us. We'll be right back.
Patrick Allen Companies services and repairs all brands of overhead doors, residential and commercial. Our service technicians are factory trained and have over 125 years of combined experiences. At Patrick Allen Companies, we are not interested in being the biggest, just the best. We are just 4 miles south of Meridian on Highway 145. Patrick Allen Companies, safety, service, and satisfaction.
J&J Tire and Muffler, located at 3420 8th Street, invites you by. And if you need a front-end alignment, make sure to try their new state-of-the-art alignment machine. No matter the size of your truck and car, J&J can align it. J&J also has touch-free mounting, laser wheel balancing, and as always, they provide preventive maintenance, including CV axles, shocks, struts, brakes. And they even do work on motorcycles. With the largest selection of new and used tires, along with exhaust systems. Locally owned and operated since 1978 in Meridian.
Steve Horn is your Christian conservative voice in Jackson. Born and raised in District 81, Steve Horn is the husband to the former Susie Coker. Steve is father to Lauren, Tommy, and Hunter Horn. Steve is also known as Pawpaw to his 3 grandchildren, Brooks, Ross, and Madeline, with a 4th, Melody Ann, on the way. Steve Horn is our pro-family, pro-life, and pro-liberty choice. On August the 8th, vote Republican. Vote Steve Horn.
Paid for by Steve Horn.
For something as vital as your eyes, you should have your lenses and contacts made with the utmost care and precision. And that's what Grayson Optical does on 24th Avenue. Since 1996, Grayson Optical's mission has been to provide Meridian and surrounding areas with quality eye care products. That's why we're locally owned and operated. And don't forget, custom-made sunglasses like Costa for your eyes only. When you need to see clearly, Grayson Optical. 2021 24th Avenue, Meridian. 601-693-6374.
And welcome back. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. Our special guest this morning, Otis here also. I don't want to leave anybody out. As we go across the desk here and we introduce you to Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun. And, of course, Ward is running for Sheriff of Lauderdale County. If no one is familiar with this, never put a face with it, heard your name, it'd be kind of hard not to know who you are.
Who was that? Yeah.
As we go for this, where do we want to start? What do you want to tell the voters this morning?
Well, you know, this election has been at times contentious. There have been, I have tried my absolute best to try to talk about the issues. You know, these are serious issues we're talking about in this election, when you elect your sheriff for this next 4 years. I have tried to look at this as the voters are the individuals who are employing somebody. It's a job interview. Matter of fact, I got, after a while knocking on doors, you start looking for new ways to doing things. So I came up with a new one, and I knocked on the door, and the lady opened it, and I said, "Ma'am, I'm here for the job interview." And she kind of messed it up for me in a one way, because she said, "You're hired." And I was like, that didn't go like what I thought it was going to. But I liked what she said.
Right.
What I meant by that and what I mean by that is that the voters are going to make a choice about who's going to lead their sheriff's department. And while they're marking a ballot for an individual, they are also putting into the hands of that person the direction that a department's going to do for the next 4 years. Having been down there all these years with Sheriff Solly, some people look at it and say, well, hey, y'all got a great department. Things are going really well. Others look at it and say, I don't know, maybe we need to do something different. So my job as a candidate is to try to help people see why what we have done. In a sense, I have to defend what Sheriff Solly has done, because I have been there working with him during this time, and to explain our techniques and the reasons that we do what we do, and make sure that I am conveying the message of why we do those things. And that has been the challenge, I think, in this campaign, or at least it's felt that way to me.
Right.
Law enforcement has changed drastically during my career. I have been wearing a badge now a total of 31 years. 4 of those years I was a reserve. Think of much like our volunteer firemen who give of their time. I was giving of my time. Just to help, and enjoyed that. It was OJT. Quite frankly, I look back now, and I remember my dad warning me. He was like, "Son, you need to really think through this, because if you do something out there and something happens, what protections do you have? When you're young and you don't know what you don't know, you just kind of say, well, hey, this feels good, helping the community and helping. Surely everything will be okay." And I was fortunate that didn't have any issues. But as I've moved along now, and I see all the potential pitfalls, not only for
when you say that, do you feel that when you started where we are now, that it's a greater chance of something happening.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like the old days now, is
Not
it?
at all. Absolutely different. The environment, society has just changed. We have seen this more drastically really since 2014. Not so much in our community, as I'm speaking more nationally.
Right.
We have a very supportive community. For the most part, our community is very supportive. Now, there's always in every community, you're going to have some people who are not. We don't have these issues, defund the police, all of those kind of things.
But it could come here.
Well, it certainly can. And not only that, but what we have seen is the ways our laws have changed. I mean, the way our bonds are done now. The fact that, and this is at a state level, one of the things I've been on the campaign trail talking about, and you do it every day, is about the crime in our community. It's not, some people literally, I've talked to people who feel like that we have become the armpit of the world and that we are the most terrible place, and I would never live in Lauderdale County. And, all you got to do is if you broaden out that look a little bit and move away a little bit and start noticing, you will find this throughout our society in the United States and throughout Mississippi.
Well, Vicksburg has got a huge problem, but I will have to say that the mayor of Vicksburg handles crime, I think, a little bit better than the mayor of Meridian.
Certainly, and that's where
he takes a stand.
And that's where and I don't know about Vicksburg in particular, but that's where I was going with that. And I get the idea, though, that people say, okay, well, that may be true, but I'm worried about what's going on here. And I think there are solutions that are going to be found locally, but some of these solutions we're going to have to work with the state to implement the kind of solutions that are going to be permanent. And here's what I mean by that.
Okay.
It is things like funding properly for state agencies to be able to assist departments like our department. You have the state crime lab. Sometimes we are waiting for more than a year for results from the crime lab to come back for various pieces of evidence, for example. Here recently, we had a quadruple murder that occurred. It was 4 years and happened in 2017. By the time we get in a courtroom, 4 years and 11 months had gone by. That is just one example.
Well, does that cross the line of your right to a speedy trial? When is that timeline? When does that run out?
Exactly. There is that you have that as part of it, but we had COVID going on during that time. The biggest problem was getting autopsy results. Now, the state has fixed that problem. The legislature came forward. I think they spent $4 million. They, hired some more people. My thing at the state level is we've got to work with those legislators and our partners over there, making sure they understand that on the ground there are consequences to not continuously funding and making sure that those kind of programs, those resources that local departments depend on, are consistently funded and taken care of. I have through the years seen these cycles in the crime lab where we would have a problem, for example, with getting analysis back on what is suspected to be illegal narcotics. And we would wait 9 months, 10 months, a year. They'd throw money at it, we'd get it fixed, they'd hire some people, and we'd get it back down in the 2 to 3, 4 month range. That'd go on for 2 or 3 years, and here we go again. Consistently being able to have the resources available. Because places like Lauderdale County, we can't afford a crime lab. We can't afford to have someone who is going to do our autopsies. That is just not feasible. And that's why we do this collectively through our state government. So there are going to be solutions that we need to work at locally. There's absolutely no doubt that how we work on the crime problem is a local issue. But there's also a bigger picture here that I think people need to keep in mind. For example, state of Mississippi's own numbers, 2016 to 2022, violent crime in Mississippi rose by 741%. We all know this.
Yeah.
All right, but what locally can we do in particular about that? We're catching bad guys, but we're not locking them up very long. That's something that we need to be looking at. The pendulum has swung very far, and I think it's time for us to work with our legislators to figure out what do we need to do to have that pendulum swing back. In Lauderdale County, we have right at 1,400 people on probation.
Woo!
but we only have like 4 or 5
Let me see your
probation
ankle
officers.
down there. You got nothing to do, Yodi.
I'm
So
not.
these are all issues that affect all of us in our communities. Some of the quality of life issues that are talked about with the homeless. Those are challenges that are faced. We see it all the time on the national news about San Francisco and many other places where these are challenges. These are challenges because those citizens who choose to not live in a house, they have rights as well. You can't just say, well, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to lock you up and stick you in jail for 2 weeks because you have done X, whatever it is.
I got a
we've got to
question.
work towards some local solutions, but there's got to be some other help at a higher level as well.
Got a question sort of on that when we come back of your suggestions on how to fix something. We'll be right back.
Our local headlines are brought to you by the Rock House Gun and Pawn.
Will Parker is your local lawyer located here in Meridian. If you've been hurt on the job, call Will. Let him explain your rights with workplace injury. Call or go online at parkerfirm.net. Will Parker, your local lawyer, 2110 Front Street, Meridian. Are you looking for a job that could last a lifetime? Structural Steel is hiring now. With employees that have been there from 20 to 40 years, they're family owned and operated since 1975. Competitive starting wages, a 401k package, and great insurance. Immediate openings on the day shift and night shift. From entry-level helpers, welding and tacking, grinding and fitting. And the list goes on of job openings. Start your future today at Structural Steel. Call 483-5381. Philadelphia Gun and Pawn, located at 910 Posey Avenue, has tons of lawnmowers to choose from. A big selection of zero-turn lawnmowers, power washers, and even barbecue grills. Step inside the store and see their complete line of Liberty safes along with those Browning safes. A large selection of Louis Vuitton purses along with satin shirts and bead sets. And tons to choose from for the outdoorsman in your household. And always a great deal on any type of jewelry you're looking for. And a private lobby for pawns for your confidentiality. Philadelphia Gun and Pawn.
It's almost election time. Have you researched the candidates? My name is Michelle Griffith Joyner, and I'm asking for your vote for Lauderdale County Justice Court Judge District 1. With a bachelor's degree in criminology and more than 23 years of experience actually working in a criminal court, I'm qualified, experienced, and ready. My goals are to enforce personal responsibility and reduce recidivism. On August 8th, please vote for qualifications. Vote Michelle Griffith Joyner for Lauderdale County Justice Court Judge District 1. Learn more about me at joynerforjustice.com.
Welcome back.
We're back
Scotty Ray
again.
And as we have Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun, and let me ask this because I'm not going to call the guy's name, but there's a guy in town that causes a lot of trouble within the city limits of Meridian, and it's constantly. What can be done with someone who is a known, is the word offender that I'm looking for, causes trouble? Like last night, I got a text message. There's a guy in a local restaurant who has spit on customers. He has spit on the staff and is causing. What do you do with this guy when the police are called 4 or 5 times? What goes on?
And these are situations that we typically aren't involved in because, as you mentioned, it happened in the city of Meridian. Now, I think that it is important. I'm going to answer your question, but I want people to also understand that while the Sheriff's Department has jurisdiction in the city of Meridian, it is the Meridian Police Department. They are the primary responder to calls in the city of Meridian, not the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department. And, you would certainly need to ask them what their protocols are. However, when
they
these
just, for whatever reason, don't want to come on.
Well, I am a firm believer, as I have told people who have come in my office time and time again with neighbors who have not this particular issue, but let's say it's an issue about.
Would this be similar to the guy? Do you remember a few months back, or maybe a year ago, that a neighbor got hurt by another neighbor cutting grass? And does this kind of similar follow?
Well, it is in that I tell people that you've got a couple things going on here. I think you, as a citizen, have to understand what your rights are, and then what within the system what you can do. And that is when you feel that you have been, in my example, that I hear a good bit, my neighbor is loud music at midnight. They're right next door to me and they won't turn it down. I always work on the theory of go to your neighbor first with more than just you. When there's a problem in your neighborhood, for example, and if it's bothering you, it's probably bothering somebody across the street or on the other side. It's go the two of you and say, hey man, we're having some issues. We'd appreciate it if you turn the music down or not shoot at midnight or whatever is going on.
Yeah.
You try that first and you document that. You keep up with that. When that doesn't work, start calling us. We will go. There is no hard time in statute about disturbance of the peace, okay? But disturbance could occur at any time, but generally speaking, after 10 o'clock at night and before 6 in the morning, those are common times that most people are asleep or could be sleeping, and so that's a time for you as a neighbor to maybe not be doing these things.
Or weed eating next to your neighbor's house at midnight, which I have been gotten text about.
Well, show some respect to your neighbor, but if that continues, your next course of action then is, I always tell people to record these kind of things, go to the justice court, and charge your neighbor then with disturbance of the peace. You're going to have your day in court, and if you go into to court prepared, where you can say, the first step I took, my neighbor and I, we went there, we talked about this issue with the neighbor. We thought we had reached resolution. That didn't happen. Maybe you've done it a second time, then call the sheriff's department. We did this on this date and this date. And they just continue to do this, Your Honor. And that's why on this final date, the 5th time it happened, I came here and signed an affidavit for disturbance of the peace. You're going to find better resolution with the justice court judge, I believe, when you've done that versus just coming in the door saying, they're playing their music loud and you have no evidence, your word against them, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So going back to your dealing with this individual in town, I believe that we have to have some solutions for every time we deal with these individuals. It's either charge them if they commit a crime. An officer, if we show up, a crime has to have occurred in our presence for us to make an arrest.
So it has to be either you have somebody who will testify that this happened, or you see it.
Right, and you can do that. And in this case, it'd be disturbance of a business. The problem is with the changes that we've had in our laws and with our bonds, there's probably going to be a recog done on this guy. He's just going to be out going at it again. So we need to start working on what's causing this issue. Sometimes it's mental health issues. Other times it could be a combination of that and drug use or alcohol use. We need to look for what to do. Now that is a charge or a program, an idea that the city would need to explain for themselves. I certainly can't answer for what they do. I can tell you that in our department, if this were to happen, we are going to be looking for and we're going to have a solution that's not going to have us returning time after time after time for the same individual, the same spot, And again, we just don't have a lot of this out in the county. So it's not something we have happen a whole lot.
Odie, do you have something you want to insert?
Yeah, and you just mentioned something about it right then, and then earlier you said something else that goes along with you arrest people, put them in jail, and they just don't stay long. What was it that the Supreme Court, they made some changes with some laws that judges are having to go by, what y'all are having to do a little bit different, why people aren't staying in jail as long to pay for their crime, and why they're being let out so much earlier?
Well, what has happened is, but based off the rules of the court, basically the determination was made that I'm presenting it as simple a way as I can think, that people were being people without resources, without money, were being penalized, where people who had money could get out on bonds. And so the premise is that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. The argument that was made or has been made is that if I simply accuse Scotty Ray of something, and Scotty Ray then is put in jail, and the judge decides to put a $1,000 bond on Scotty Ray, but Scotty Ray's only got $13 in his pocket, he may sit there for days on end before he ends up in front of a judge saying, "Judge, I've only got $13. Where if we did the same thing to Odie whips out a credit card or whips out $1,000 and puts a cash bond and walks out the door. Neither one of you, in the eyes of the law, are guilty on an arrest. You're presumed innocent, but yet you're being treated differently. And so
that is
yes. And so many of these individuals who create these nuisance crimes, they don't have any resources. They don't have any money. And so it was determined that they were being treated differently. And so these are the changes that we are living with in our society. Now, and we're not holding people accountable for their actions. And many times I can't say this necessarily from Meridian Police Department, but I know in talking with agencies and people all across our state, officers are not even taking the time to deal with these people anymore because they look at it and go,
Why?
Why? I'm going to be out of service doing paperwork, taking somebody down that we're going to turn around and walk back. They're going to walk out. They're going to just do it again. Now, I will say this. There are times when you can contact a judge and say, Judge, this is what has happened. This is the third time today. And a judge can put a bond on it. They can do that. They have there's some room there for them to do it, but it's certainly not on the first time. But that's, to me, why we've got to do it every single time. As I said about a neighbor building a case against another
documentation.
Neighbor. Exactly. When you document things like that, I think you're going to have better results.
I know this is we're bringing Meridian up, and we say Meridian because we do live in Meridian and it's part of it. But is the sheriff's department in a way like Meridian? It's hard to find officers. It's hard to find deputies. What do you see the problem with getting deputies when you need it? And then what would be some ways that you think you could combat the shortage? And do you, on top of that question, I know I'm throwing three of them out.
I'm going to have to get a sheet of paper out and write them all down to keep up with them.
And do you see that what we were just talking about with the Supreme Court and people getting in and out, does that have any effect on people who want to make law enforcement part of their life?
Yes.
That answered all three of them.
But here are the things that just recently we sent an employee to a 2-day, or I think it was a day and a half, seminar about recruiting and retaining employees. In this class, there were a little over 30 agencies represented. They were from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. They took a poll in this class. Out of all of those agencies, there were only 2 agencies that were at greater than 80% of their slots filled. And that was the Tuscaloosa Police Department and the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department. All these other agencies, some as low as 40%. In other words, if they have 100 personnel, they've got 40 working, and they've got 60 vacancies they can't fill.
That's strong.
And in the nation, we are reaching critical mass because a couple things are going on. A lot of work that needs to be being done and crime being detected and bad guys being found is being put off because there's not enough people to get the jobs done. We see call volumes go up. The ones that are working are getting burned out and looking for exits. So we have got the next 5 to 10 years in our country is going to be critical in getting people to want to work in law enforcement. So the question is how to do that. Part of that is environment. Part of the reason I think we're in a good spot here, but we're not where we want to be. We have openings ourselves now, and finding qualified candidates is difficult.
I'm sure.
A lot of people just don't want to go in law enforcement. We find ourselves out recruiting. So we went to that not to say, okay, hey, there's a problem. We know there's a problem. The question is, what do we do about that? Mm-hmm. So we're bringing back some strategies and looking at things. Okay, how can we market differently? What can we do to within the state law look for ways to compensate people properly for their work? Those are all things that we're trying to look through and review. And of course, right now we're in the middle of an election, so quite obviously we got to get through this next week because we want to be able to implement and start figuring those things out. It is very difficult when you look around, even in our state, and look at the pay difference. There are departments that we have people today that can move with the experience they have and make $15,000 to $20,000 more.
Yeah, that's strong.
So that is very strong, and there are people doing it. There are even people now leaving state government, going back to local departments because the compensation is so much better. Now, you're not going to have everybody do that because many people have a tie here. This is home
family.
Mm-hmm. But for others that can make those kind of moves, that they're going to do that. So we are working and thinking through what does that look like. I think for us, one of the things that has been good for us is we have had stability. We have also had a department that people have wanted to come to. when we talk about hiring, I'm always looking for someone who's running towards something as opposed to someone running from something.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
Because when you do that, and we want to be an attractive place for people to work, and that's making sure that you have the equipment they need, the training they need, and an environment where they can flourish and take what they have, their passion, why they do law enforcement, and they can come and do that job. And they feel support. And that's what's so great about our community. We have had great support from the community. That makes a difference in having a department where people want to come work.
All right, more coming up with Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun. We'll be right back.
I'm Ricky Roberts, and I'm asking you to elect me Sheriff of Lauderdale County. August 8th is here, and your voice will be heard. Chris Reed will be Chief Deputy of our Sheriff's Department.
We've reached a critical point in our community. We have experience and resources, and it's time for new leadership. I'm committed to making our community safer with Ricky Roberts. We will build a department you will have confidence in, but we need you. By working together, we can accomplish this.
On August 8th, vote for change we all deserve, because our future is at stake. Vote Ricky Roberts, Sheriff.
Meridian's favorite barbecue is Squealer's Barbecue, named the barbecue capital for the state of Mississippi. Whether it's barbecue, wings, or burgers, Squealer's simply has the best for a family environment. Every Thursday night, there's live music out on the porch. Takeout orders are welcome, and whether it's your next tailgate or large catering event, your friends at Squealer's are there to help. Drop in for lunch today or a night out on the town. Squealer's Barbecue, the best in fine barbecue.
Steve Horn is your principled conservative voice in Jackson. Steve was born and raised in District 81. Steve Horn is pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-tax cuts, and pro-liberty. Steve has always believed the answer is better government, not more government. Your voice in Jackson is not for sale with Steve Horn as your representative. Steve has always stood his ground and has never compromised the voice of the hardworking people of District 81. On August 8th, vote Republican. Vote Steve Horn. Paid for by Steve Horn.
Are you ready for summer? Massey has a 2021 Jeep Wrangler that's waiting on you with only 61,000 miles. How about a Rogue with 57,000 miles? A 23 Camry with only 50 miles on it? Or maybe it's a Toyota Tacoma four-wheel drive that you're needing. From Silverados to F-250s, Massey Supermart Auto Sales, 1023 Highway 39 North.
Profit dealer, Massey Supermart.
I'm Devin Snowden, Republican candidate for District 1 Supervisor of Lauderdale County. I'm sixth generation Snowden to call this home. This is where I'm raising my family, where I work and serve the landowners of this area, and where we play. I want Lauderdale County to continue to call home. If elected, I'll do my best to make Lauderdale County its best. Please vote for me, Devin Snowden, on August 8th, and remember, I'm not just any candidate, I'm your neighbor.
Paid for by the campaign to elect Devin Snowden.
I'm Kenneth Graham, and I want to be your coroner in Lauderdale County. The job of coroner is primarily about death investigation. In my experience, families and loved ones want the truth. With my training, experience, and background as an investigator, I am the best person for this job. You only get one chance when investigating a death, and this job must be done right. So please vote for me, Kenneth Graham, coroner, Lauderdale County.
Get up.
Oh, here we go.
Back. As we begin this Friday morning, believe it or not, Friday, August the 4th, the month is flying by, and we do expect it to be hot, hot, hot. I wanted to bring this up. We had a little altercation in town yesterday. No major injuries. I think Metro was called to the scene, and they say, yeah, I'll be okay. But a little disagreement there, and somebody got injured. I'll word it that way. And as you'll notice, what's in that hand? Yep, somebody got hit in the hand with that object there.
Yeah. Sharp on one end.
Yes, it was. It's kind of like Jared Clower in The Last Piece of Chicken. Anybody know that one? The lights go out.
Yeah.
Everybody uses the fork except Uncle Versey, who reaches out to get the chicken.
That's it.
5 forks.
Stuck in.
And y'all know things like that happen.
You know, this is our Friday, and of course, like every time we get together every day, we have an hour that goes by that quick, and we've had great conversation with Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun, and want to continue on. We've got just a little bit left, but Constantly on these comments, there's been one question that continuously comes up like every third comment. And people are saying, would you please name, or why do you not want to name your chief deputy elect, we'll say, if you were to be elected Sheriff of Lauderdale County, who is it that you will put in place to be your second in charge?
Absolutely. We'll be more than happy to answer that question. It'll be the same answer I've been giving since the beginning. It works like this. We work for Sheriff Solly right now, and we will until December the 31st of this year. And I made the determination early on that while it could be politically, it enhanced me politically to do that, I believe that it would be detrimental to the operation of our department right now to do that. So I made the determination that I'm not going to do that. The good thing is this. In our department, we have been growing leaders for years. And there are several individuals within our department that will easily be able to step into that role. And so that determination will be made later on after the election. I don't feel that I need to do that right now. The citizens are voting for a sheriff. That's who you get. And the sheriff has control of who his personnel are. And people are either going to trust me enough to make that wise decision, who I believe can best do that, or they won't. That's the reason that I feel that I shouldn't do that. That and would be detrimental to what we're doing today. You can see how that would could potentially create problems in a department that still has to keep functioning all the way to the end of December. So that is the reason that I haven't done that. I want to focus on me and my skills, my leadership ability. I want to focus on what my vision for that department is for the future. And that is not just to be an accredited agency, not just to reach to work seatbelt tickets I keep hearing about, but talk about what are the end results of that? What is the why that we do the things we do? And that's the thing I want to make sure I communicate. We do accreditation because it builds a framework to make us a better organization. It provides the structure we need so that we can do the job we do efficiently. That's not just me saying it as the chief deputy or me as a candidate. You know, we have the last 2 grand jury reports, and there are comments in other grand jury reports, but they're the latest ones, that say the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department does an incredible job of presenting cases and documenting what happens. Because when you do that, you get results in the courtroom. Every incident that we respond to, we have to have the mindset that we are going to end up in front of 12 jurors at some point in time, and that those jurors need to be assured that we have done everything we can to bring them a case where there is no reasonable doubt that this person didn't commit this crime. You have to have that in mind when you start. Because if you don't, you will not do the kind of quality casework that will get you a conviction.
Right.
One of the things, early on, we used to have all of our deputies, when they would get hired, they would work in the courthouse. My brother, for example, is one of them. And he will tell you, I think he was in there 9 months. He said that was the most valuable thing that happened to him because he got to see officers testify. He got to see them sit in that seat and get asked questions, very hard questions by defense attorneys. And he had some of them, he said, who looked like,
didn't know how to answer the question.
Didn't have an answer, was scrambling, was and that doesn't feel good. And he said to himself and he said to others, I'll never be that person, because we represent that victim. We represent that family that's lost someone. And if we don't do quality work, they're looking at us, and we will be the fail point when that prosecution doesn't work. So it is important that we make sure we do all of these things and we do them right. And you never know which one is going to be the one that's going to set you up for that scenario. That traffic stop that you make for someone not having a seatbelt on may be the time when there's a dead body on the back seat. Now, that's not happening. That's a little, I get it, it's a stretch.
Right.
But how many felons with firearms have we gotten off of a seatbelt? How many people with warrants have we gotten off that seatbelt or just working traffic? We live in a mobile society. Bad guys get from their house to their criminal activity in a car. That's how they do that. And when you work traffic, that is one strategy to catch bad guys. We've been doing this for years. Now, there is value in having safer roadways by removing impaired drivers and for people wearing their seatbelts. Those are laws we have. I get that people look at that and go, well, you're just messing, go do something, go get the real bad guys. We do go get real bad guys when we do that. I went back and just on this sheet right here, started looking at some names of some real bad guys like LaKenna Smith, felony fleeing. The feds are picking up that case. He had 450 ecstasy pills and cash from criminal activity. That was done on a roadside safety checkpoint. We were inside the city where we got a guy named Guy McCrae. We got a hit on one of our cameras that people talk about that, oh, great, cameras don't do anything. Cameras are something that we use to make us more efficient. You can't see and be around every car, but when you get a hit off of one of these cameras, you then end up making a traffic stop. This guy's got multiple felony warrants out of Newton County. These are just a couple of examples. We had Jamie Clayton on a traffic stop. He was wanted for homicide last November by the city. Been looking for him for weeks. How was he apprehended? Because a deputy made a traffic stop. Bad guys do their criminal activity in vehicles. Us working traffic makes a difference. We catch bad guys that way.
Can y'all check? I just got a question because it just popped up in my mind. Can y'all check bicycles? We seem to have a bunch of robberies. It seems to be the thing of the future is the bicycle.
Depending on where the cameras are, there are some bicycles.
More coming up with Chief Ward Calhoun. Tag readers on bicycles. It's the latest crazy word. We'll be right back.
I'm Nick Lisi, and I'm running for Justice Court Judge of District 1. My family is directly affected by the rampant crime in our community on a regular basis. Our businesses have been vandalized, robbed, and even shut down due to safety concerns from our customers and our employees. As a business owner, I'm often faced with making hard decisions, and if you look at Lauderdale County as a business, it's time for us to make those decisions before we go under. We need people in office who are invested in Lauderdale County, people who aren't in it for the paycheck or the retirement, people who want to work together to find the solutions to the problems that plague our county. On August 8th, remember, vote Republican, vote Nick Lisi.
Your local farmer knows a good deal when he sees one. The L-Series Kubota tractor is the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA and offered at Parish Kubota with 0% financing available. Come see why we're more than a tractor store at Parish Tractor.
Health Now is your locally owned medical equipment store. Every person's need is a little different, and they offer a little bit of everything from hospital beds, wheelchairs, reclining back wheelchairs, breathing treatments, CPAPs and supplies. They even have walkers, bath products, and oxygen. And the great thing about Health Now is they offer same-day service. They're open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and on call 24/7. Health Now Medical Equipment, where we treat our patients like family.
It's campaign season. Do yourself a favor and elect Reed Tree Service. Got a tree that scares you each time that it sways in the wind? Elect Reed Tree Service to remove that threat. Have storm winds knocked a tree down in your yard and you want it gone? Elect Reed Tree Service. Professional, experienced, insured. Call Mike 601-416-1233 and elect Reed Tree Service for all of your needs. Tell them Scotty Ray sent you.
Same old sound, and no one's answering. Vote for change. Vote Ben Shirley, District 81 Representative, on August 8th. Ben will answer the phone. Ben will get answers in Jackson for District 81. Ben will create jobs and promote economic development for East Mississippi.
I'm Ben Shirley, and I'm asking for your vote in the August 8th Republican primary.
Vote Ben, District 81, August 8th. Paid for by Ben Shirley.
And welcome back, your friend Scotty Ray, along with Odie, as we head toward the top of the hour. And again, a big decision that we all got to make. Next Tuesday, there's a lot of folks running for, we've got coroner, we've got justice court judges. As you go through this list, it's big, it's long. There's a lot of decisions to make. Sheriff is one of those. Chief Deputy Ward Calhoun has been here with us this morning. What do we need to touch on? What do you want to touch on that we haven't talked about yet? Let me put that in your court for a second.
Sure. It gets down simply to this. The voters are going to make a decision who's going to lead their sheriff's department for the next 4 years. I've made the decision to run because I believe this is the time to do it. I have been there for 27 years, the last 18 as a chief deputy. I have worked with Sheriff Solly, worked with many of these individuals that have been there for years. What we have is not perfect, but what we have is doing a quality, efficient, fair job in terms of law enforcement services to Lauderdale County. Do we have answers for every problem? No, but we are constantly seeking improvement. A lot of people feel like, well, we need change. I agree, we can do better. We always can do better. People who aren't looking to be better today than they were yesterday are not the kind of folks we even want working down there. We want people who are looking to be better, and we're trying to do that. You can have all of the tools, the cameras, the cars, whatever it is. Those are just resources. You've got to have quality people there doing quality work in order to do the type of law enforcement services that voters and taxpayers of this community deserve. And I'm seeking this office because I believe I've got the training and the experience to do that. And I want to do that with our community. I've been working with this community for years. I'm ready to get back to hunting down bad guys by putting their picture on TV. That's been our calls to Crime Stoppers have been dropped significantly since that program is temporarily suspended. There are a lot of things like that in working with the community. There are things I've learned during this campaign that I want to now take back and put into practice in some different ways. I want to continue serving you. That is what I want to do. And so I'm humbly asking for everyone's vote next Tuesday in the Republican primary. We've already talked about that. Walk in the door, go to the Republican table, and simply cast your ballot for me. I believe that I have what this county needs, and I will be able to take all the lessons learned through the years and through this campaign and help move us forward and build a coalition of community members who want to work together. We have a lot of divisiveness in our community in lots of different areas. And I think part of a sheriff's job is being the cheerleader, is bringing people together, recognizing the common goal of making our community safer. And that's working not only with the community, but with other leaders in state government, federal government, looking at who we can bring to the table to talk to in order to make the necessary changes to continue to make Lauderdale County the wonderful place that it's been all these years. This community has been good to me, been good to my family. I mean, I look back and see the investment they have put in me, and I want that return of that investment to pour it into them. That's what I want to do. I can move lots of other places like a lot of other people.
Right.
I don't want to move. I want to stay right here and work for the citizens of Lauderdale County. That's my passion. That's what every day I get up, put my uniform on, and I'm excited about coming to work. And it's not to get a paycheck. It's not to get the title. It's because I want to help people. That's why I do what I do every day. And I hope that shows through, and I hope people will make that choice on Tuesday and allow me the opportunity to continue to do that.
Ward Calhoun, we can't thank you enough for coming by and visiting with us this morning. It's been a pleasure. And again, Tuesday is the day. We'll be giving election results as quickly as we can as all this comes in on Tuesday night. More to follow on that. Throughout the weekend, we're going to be here following crime and trying to make sure, and also bringing the good things that happen in our community, no matter whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We tell it the way it is, and we will be there. Again, Ward, we can't thank you enough for coming in and spending some time with us.
I appreciate it. It's been great. Been a good morning. Except Odie didn't get my coffee ready for me. So other than that, things were great.
Last time,
I run out
he put coffee grounds in it for you.
He did.
You will remember that.
I sure did. Well, I
even had you one sitting out over there, the pre-made kind.
Those coffee grounds, if you chew them, they give you an extra burst.
We want to say thank you to everyone for watching this morning. We'll be back Monday morning to handle this, and throughout the weekend, any live event that needs to be handled will be here.
71 hours. We'll be back Monday to start a new week. It'll be, again, the fastest week. Man, we love y'all. Thank y'all. Have a great day.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners: